For me, innovation challenges the status quo. For me, it takes us beyond the current reality and has to produce something that not only is new, but has some value. It doesn't just reiterate what's gone before. And for us, innovation remains the lifeblood of our industry. We are responsible for creating and developing the vast majority of medicines around the world. Innovation cannot be static, it must be organic. And it used to be that we would get smart people in a room and say, go innovate. But now we're saying, well, actually, in order to connect the vast scientific knowledge that we have, we need to create global networks. We need to join the dots. We need to join experts together from all over the world in order to innovate those new medicines and vaccines for the needs of today. It takes about 10 to 15 years to develop a new medicine and vaccine and costs around about over $1 billion. And it's a complex process. And we have to ensure that we get the balance between safety and efficacy right. It's a big success for us that we have launched over 340 new medicines and vaccines over the last 10 years, and we currently have 3,200 compounds in the development pipeline. And all these medicines and vaccines are, of course, for the benefit of patients all around the world. The value of innovation can be split into two different parts, which is the economic but also the therapeutic. I'd like to refer to two different reports that were launched this year, one that looks at the two different areas. The first one was done by Charles Rivers Associates, which is an economic think tank in London. And they were having a look at what is the real therapeutic value of certain diseases like in HIV/AIDS, diabetes and vaccines. And here we all know that if a patient is cured in 6 weeks as opposed to 6 months, there's huge value in that, not only for the person because they can go back to their families and go back to their jobs and support their families, but also in terms of healthcare savings. But one of the other things that it found is that there's a huge amount of value in developing countries as well as developed. The rotavirus is a disease that causes severe diarrhea in children and is responsible for a huge amount of child deaths around the world. Now the study had a look at a comparison between two countries, Australia and Brazil. Both launched the new vaccine developed, and they saw huge benefits in terms of reduced hospitalization costs. They found that in Brazil the value was far higher because they'd managed to reduce child mortality significantly. The number of child deaths had decreased far more than it had in Australia. The second report was a V4 report, which is an academic institution in Germany, and they were having a look at the economic footprint of the industry. And they calculated that the value of the industry is around 441 billion, which is the same as the economic strength of Argentina. But the report also found that the industry employs 4.2 million people globally as well. And this is the same as the number of people in employment in the country of Austria. The challenges we face are an increasing population of about 30% over the next few decades. And so our industry is tasked with developing the new medicines and vaccines that we need. Some of these issues are that we have an aging population, we have an increased prevalence of cancer and heart disease, and infectious diseases are becoming more resistant to the existing treatments that we have. So there's an ever-pressing need for new innovation. Governments play a critical role in ensuring that the policies and legal instruments are in place to ensure that we can have adequate return on investment, given the amount of investment required to make these medicines. But also that there's an environment where we can work together and collaborate with other people. Innovation these days is an ecosystem whereby we work with academia, we work with small companies, we work with clinical research organizations. We have to ensure that that environment is nurtured and indeed sustainable long term. I think that what we have learned is that we used to do things on our own, and we used to try to do things on our own. I think meeting the new challenges that we've described, we have to work together. We have to be willing to share expertise, we have to be willing to think outside the box. We have to be challenged. And I think once we create this kind of environment, we can maximize our collective input for the health and wealth of people around the world.